Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the reaction channel. Ryan's Real Reactions here on Triple R, and today I am diving into the case of Anna Kepner. This is from the Law and Crime Network YouTube channel. The title of this video is Teens Cruise Ship Death Blown Wide Open with Stepmom's Fiery Claims. Here we go. It's the first I'm hearing about the case, so we'll see how it works.
New and explosive details about the final hours before Anna Kepner's death have just emerged, not from the FBI, but from a tense custody hearing that wrapped up today. On the stand, Anna's stepmom, Chantel Kepner, and she was grilled about the decisions that she and her husband, Christopher Kepner, who is Anna's biological dad, made on that ill-fated family cruise. Now, Anna Kepner's stepmom revealed that three teenagers, you have Anna, who is 18 years old, her 16-year-old stepbrother, who the family says is a suspect in Anna's death, and a 14-year-old stepbrother of Anna. The three of them were placed in a single stateroom. Now, the stepmom, Chantel Kepner, admitted the 16-year-old, who again is now a suspect, missed his critical nighttime medication twice on that trip, and she testified that no one checked on them the night that Anna died. But this hearing...
Okay, a couple things. First of all, what kind of medication is that? Because I would assume that most medications that you take, unless it's something for some extreme bipolar schizophrenia, would not make you commit murder. And then did I just hear them say they didn't check up on the kids, two of which were minors, for the entire night? That's very bizarre too.
Had a different...
Once again, this is all new to me, so this is where I try to learn the facts as I go. Bear with me.
Urgent purpose. An emergency request to remove another child from that home. The father of the child, who is Anna Kepner's stepmom's ex-husband. So yes, there's a lot of layers to this blended family. He has argued that the cruise tragedy and the suspect living there put his daughter, who is Anna's stepsister, in imminent danger. Now, the judge ruled today, but the testimony peeled back the curtain on the chaotic environment and questionable decisions that surrounded Anna Kepner in her final days. Now, we're going to break down every critical admission from that stand. 18-year-old Anna Kepner's death on the Carnival cruise ship Horizon, which happened back in November, it was shocking enough. You just don't see cases like this on cruise ships.
Yeah, if you ever hear of a cruise ship death, it's usually somebody that falls overboard, right? I don't know if I've ever heard of a case of somebody getting legitimately murdered on a cruise ship, because it's usually such tight quarters. There's people everywhere. There's staff all over the place. It's usually supposed to be a fun vacation type vibe. So definitely very, very interesting.
That often. And the FBI has been investigating, because the FBI investigates cases that happen out on the water, often on cruise ships. But again, violent crimes don't often happen on cruise ships.
Right.
And according to the family of Anna Kepner, who have spoken to ABC News, they say that Anna's cause of death was asphyxiation, that she was strangled.
Oh, wow. So, okay. Okay. That's
inside the stateroom that she was staying in with her 16-year-old stepbrother,
That's a
that
big
she
deal.
died from an arm across her neck. Now, the family has also said the only other person to go into the stateroom at the time that Anna died was her 16-year-old stepbrother.
okay. Well, then that sounds like we might have something there.
Now, that is certainly critical and important information when you think about the death investigation into Anna Kepner. And this custody hearing that we were following today, that is not directly connected to the death of Anna Kepner, but again, the information is very important to her story. And it was the aftermath of what happened aboard the ship that really ripped apart this blended family, a family that went on this trip. There were 9 of them.
Wow.
And it was supposed to be the start of a new tradition, they told ABC News, celebrating this family that had come together. But after court filings surfaced indicating that Anna's 16-year-old stepbrother is a suspect in her death, her stepmom's ex-husband, his name's Thomas Hudson, he took emergency action, leading to what we saw today. He filed a motion claiming that with a homicide suspect having recently lived in the home, his young daughter, who also lives with Anna's stepmom and biological father, Chris Kepner, was now in immediate danger. He asked a judge to remove that young girl immediately, and that set the stage for today. But as both sides laid out their case, they were forced to relive and answer for the critical hours and decisions leading up to Anna Kepner's death. Now,
right, that's what I want to know. I'm curious already about the whole thing where they just weren't checked up on for almost the entire day. That seems like a bit of a recipe for a disaster, to say the least, especially if two of them were minors and she was just freshly 18 years old, which, as we know, is damn near still a baby.
I will tell you as we get into this that the FBI has been very quiet about their investigation, and they have not said really anything beyond just confirming that they're investigating Anna Kepner's death. So much of the information has come from media reports and has come from family members who have given interviews, but this is really the only official court proceeding where we have learned more information about the circumstances the night that Anna Kepner died. And it's important to note that at the time of this recording, no one has been charged in connection to Anna Kepner's death. So Thomas Hudson, who's Anna's stepmom's ex-husband, his attorney,
Anna's stepmom's ex-husband, got it,
came in today ready to argue a broad case, but he laid out his core concerns about the cruise right in his opening statement. Listen to how he framed it for the judge.
Your Honor, in this case, obviously it's our position that the youngest child is at risk for a number of reasons. As the court is aware through the pleadings, there's a young lady who's passed away. That matter is still under investigation. That was not my client's child, but the stepchild of the mother in this case, and the remaining 16-year-old is now a suspect in that case. In this case, the mother took the children on a cruise against my client's wishes.
Sometimes I'll get comments on videos where like the bleeps like this happen, and I'll be like, why were they cursing? They're bleeping the names of the children because they're not adults.
While preventing him from having regular contact with those children, we believe that the arrangements that were made by the mother as far as the sleeping arrangements were insufficient, that the 18-year-old, the 16-year-old, and another 14-year-old were all placed in the same stateroom.
That's already just a little bit weird, right? Just some bells and whistles go off in my head of like, you have an 18-year-old and then their 16-year-old and 14-year-old stepbrother are in the same room without any supervision. You know, I don't know. That already kind of makes me be like, okay. You know, if you want to say the 18-year-old Anna got her own room, that would be fine. But I know that my parents wouldn't have let me be in a room by myself when I was 14.
There's indications that they may have, because they were in international waters, may have been engaging in activities that they normally couldn't engage in while they were in the United States properly being supervised.
Right. The attorney for Anna's stepmom, Chantal Kepner, had a very different view of the situation in that home after Anna's death. Her core argument is simple. The person at the center of the FBI's investigation, her own 16-year-old son, Anna's stepbrother.
I want to know what that medication is that he missed here, because that seems to be a huge factor. Like, for instance, my brother is autistic and he has severe ADHD, right? So when he doesn't take his ADHD medicine, he's more high-strung and he's a little bit more antsy and a little bit more like jarring, if you will, but never violent. He just is a little bit harder to be around when he's not on his medication, because it kind of gets him into like an agitated mood. But once again, never in a million years would he ever harm anybody or do anything to anybody. It's more about just how talkative and agitated he can be.
They're the suspect reportedly.
But once again, if it's a schizophrenia, if it's a very serious bipolar, if it is, you know, something like a multi-personality thing, then maybe there could be something to that.
In Anna's death was living elsewhere.
We believe, and I think we filed that in our response, that there's no emergency that exists. There was an incident on the cruise ship. The Federal Bureau of Investigations is investigating that. There have been no arrests made yet, but since my clients were advised that was a suspect in that, after he was released from the hospital upon the return to the United States, he was placed with a relative of the mother's. And not only did that happen, but mom contacted dad, and dad signed an agreement to say that this child would be placed with a third party, thereby removing any risk of any danger to any of the other children in the home. So that has been resolved.
And in a later statement, her attorney revealed something significant. Anna Kepner's stepbrother could potentially face charges. This is the first time we've heard in court that criminal charges for Anna's death are actively being considered.
At this point, we're not sure. We're not sure what the FBI is going to do, whether he's going to be charged federally or whether they're going to turn it over to the state.
Now, with that potential prosecution hanging in the air, the stepmother was called to the stand and forced to answer for the exact environment and decisions that the FBI is investigating. The questioning went straight to the cruise and the choices made there.
Did you recently go on a cruise?
Yes.
Okay. And did any of the children go with you on the cruise? Did you reach out to Mr. Hudson to request that he agree to passports for the children?
I reached out to him to inform him of my itinerary to take the children on a cruise and did ask for the passports, but they weren't needed in this cruise.
And Mr. Hudson actually refused to cooperate with obtaining passports, correct?
To sign for the passports, yes.
That's interesting. So he didn't want them to go on this cruise, which makes you think, what instinct did he have?
You said passports weren't necessary, so they weren't obtained?
Correct.
So like he said, no, I don't want that. I'm not going to provide the passports for them. And then she basically went around it and said, well, we don't need one. We're going anyway.
As far as the minor children, what were the sleeping arrangements on this cruise?
With my husband and his 9-year-old daughter, and then shared a room with his stepsister and stepbrother. The room was directly across from ours.
What was the stepsister's name?
Anna Kepner.
And what was the stepbrother's name? And how old is
14.
And how old was Anna?
All I would recommend to Law&Crime, maybe just turn the beeps down a little bit, like the bleeping noise. Just maybe turn it down a little bit.
18.
Now, who made the decision to have these 3 teenagers in one room in the cruise?
We had talked it over with our travel agent, and that was what was suggested.
I was going to say, she doesn't seem like she's going to take blame for anything. I don't know if a travel agent would say, yeah, so the 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 14-year-old will all be in their same room. I just don't believe they would ever allow. I mean, technically, I guess it's legal because the 18-year-old is an adult, so they're accompanied by an adult, but it's like, I don't know any travel agent that would be like, yeah, cool. You know, that's still a recipe for disaster, you know? Unsupervised, 3 unsupervised teenagers on a cruise ship doesn't sound like the greatest of a plan there.
Did you have to sign any special permission for the children to reside together? So was it a mutual decision between yourself and your husband?
Correct.
And at some point, did you discover that one of the children had passed away?
Yes.
And when was that you discovered that?
Friday morning.
When was the last time that you'd seen the child before that Friday?
She looks a little bit, I'm just looking at the body language. She looks very worried.
Morning.
Thursday night.
You know approximately what time?
Like, you know, when you look at someone, you think, God, why do they look guilty? And I'm not saying she's guilty right now. I don't know all the facts, but I'm just going body language. She looks very like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Right around 6:30.
And your child, did you see him that Thursday night as well?
Yes,
What time did you see him at?
closer to 7, just a little bit before 7.
And what was he doing at that time?
He was headed back to his room.
Do you know whether or not was present in the room as well?
They all were headed back to their room, as far as I know.
So where was their room in relation to your room?
Right across the hall. You walked out my door, their door was right in front of it.
Did you return to your room that evening?
Yes,
What time did you return to your room?
7 o'clock.
7 p.m.?
Yeah, right. It was actually closer to 7:30.
Did you stay in the room for the rest of the night?
Yes,
With the teenagers across the hall, did you ever go in and check on them?
no, I had went to sleep.
Okay, see, I'm already like, Let's look at it like this. 7 o'clock, it seems like she was making it seem like we all went into the rooms at 7 o'clock to end the night and go to bed, which is like, okay, just me thinking out loud, it's like 7 o'clock on a cruise, going into your rooms. That sounds like really early. Now, you know, who am I to say what people's sleeping schedule is, but you know what I'm saying? And then you went to bed at like 7:30 and had nobody check in on 3 teenagers in a room for the entire night. Right? Like, am I overthinking that? This is, like I said, this is always me working these things out in real time. I try to Ryan's real reactions, but I don't know. Someone's protecting someone, or something feels weird here. I can't put my finger on it. Something's not adding up.
Do you know if Christopher went across the hall to check on them?
Not that I know of.
So it's like you have especially with the 14-year-old being in there too. You could say, okay, the 18-year-old, whatever. But then also if they're saying we have a 16-year-old who relies on medication, you didn't check or confirm about that. And then you had a 14-year-old who was also in there. Nobody, not one of the adults went in at all at any point. Even, I don't know, man. It feels very, very fishy.
Do you know if ever left the room that night on that Thursday night?
I never seen him leave the room.
Now, as this continued on, the questioning of Chantel Kepner, the attorney for her ex-husband pivoted to questions about the environment on the ship, probing what activities the teenagers might have had access to, specifically alcohol and gambling. Now, Chantel says the underage children didn't drink because they're not old enough, but then she was pressed specifically.
Yeah, but you know, that doesn't stop teenagers, right? Like, that's not, you know, that's not how it works.
About 18-year-old Anna, and her answer is a firm, quote, "I don't know." And this leaves the question about what supervision or awareness there was of Anna, an adult who was sharing a room with 2 minors. Now, take a listen to this.
Had you drank it all during the cruise?
I had 2 pina coladas and a blue Hawaiian earlier in the week, but it wasn't on the same day. It was like 1 a day.
Do you know if the children, based on being in international waters, could I drink alcohol?
No.
You don't know?
No, they didn't. They're not old enough.
What about Anna?
I don't know.
It's not a good answer there. See, things like this frustrate me because it already feels like something that could have been prevented with just basic parental supervision and understanding of, hey, you know, it's like when I was younger, my mom would let me ride my bike around, but I had to be home at a certain time. And if I wasn't allowed to do that anymore, right? So yeah, you can give kids and teenagers some freedom, but only you got to keep them on some sort of a short leash. And especially when you're on a freaking cruise ship where a lot could go wrong if whatever can go wrong will go wrong at that point, right? You're on a cruise ship at that point, unsupervised in international waters. You know, a lot can happen there.
Weren't you aware that the children were gambling at some point?
Well, Anna's 18, so I know she was in there at one point in time, but the other kids were not.
You're sure that the other kids were not gambling?
I'm sure the other kids were not gambling.
Next, the questioning turns to a critical detail that goes directly to the state of the 16-year-old suspect in the hours before Anna's death. His prescribed medication.
Here we go.
This is new information.
This is what's going to make or break it for me.
That we have not heard up until this point. The attorney established that the teen has ADHD and is taking 2 medications.
Okay, wait, that's literally what I just said earlier about my brother. So this changes it for me because ADHD medication, not taking it, and I'm not a doctor and I'm not a physician, but I know a lot of people, including my own brother and a lot of people in my life that are on it and that have skipped some days. And not one of them has ever turned to violence or, of course, any sort of murder at all. Not even close. They're just maybe a little bit irritating or irritated. And that might sound like, oh, no, like irritated, like, you know, like getting frustrated about things. Right? And that's at the most. Everybody gets frustrated every day. You know what I'm saying? You might get frustrated that you're in traffic. You're not going to freaking choke somebody out to death.
One called Concerta, which he takes in the morning, and then there's a nighttime pill he takes for insomnia called clonidine. Chantel testified that she held on to both medications on the cruise, but then came a major admission about the final night.
As far as
Now, see, I don't know anything about the insomnia medication, but once again, I can't imagine a side effect being extreme rage, and I don't know. We'll see.
Do you have any diagnoses?
He has ADHD.
And how long has he been diagnosed with ADHD?
About 3 or 4 years.
Those after your separation from Mr. Hudson, correct?
About that timeline, yes.
And does he receive medication for his ADHD?
He does.
And what medication was he on for his ADHD?
Methylphenidate.
Would you pronounce that for me and spell it, Pam, if you know?
Methylphenidate, I don't know the spelling.
Okay.
The name brand's Concerta. That helps.
Okay, thank you.
And how often would take that medication?
Every morning.
And did he take the medication on the cruise with him?
Yes. He also takes a nighttime pill as well.
The same medication?
No, it's clonidine.
What is that for?
Insomnia.
You know, that's the big one.
Did you hold on to the medications?
Yes.
Did you make sure he took his medications every day?
He took his morning pill every day, and he missed 2 doses of his clonidine at night.
I'm so sorry, I got a package and they knocked on my door, so my dog obviously thinks we are under attack.
You held on to the clonidine as well?
Mm-hmm.
That's yes?
Yes, sorry.
So what is confusing, though, is she held on to the medication, but then claimed she fell asleep at 7 p.m. and then didn't give him the medication. For what reason?
And what do you mean he missed the doses? What happened there?
He went to bed before he got it. He was already asleep.
At 7
that
p.m.
Thursday night?
At 7 p.m. on a Thursday?
No, Thursday night he didn't get it. I fell asleep before he did.
So just to make sure I understand, ma'am, while on the cruise, he missed taking that nighttime medication twice. One of the nights was because he fell asleep prior to taking
Yes.
the medication, and the other night was the night before
Correct. I fell asleep before he
you
did.
fell asleep,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
he did not get the medication the night.
Yeah, he didn't come and
before
ask
the
for it.
incident.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
So, according to her own testimony, the 16-year-old suspect, who had been prescribed medication for insomnia, did not receive that medication on the final night. Chantel says that she fell asleep before her son did, so she did not give him his medication. Now, this raises immediate questions
Right.
for the investigation. What was this 16-year-old's state of mind or ability to sleep that night without his medication?
Yeah, see, I can answer for the ADHD medication and the Concerta, because I'm almost positive my brother is on Concerta. I can't answer on the insomnia medication. If anybody has any info on that, if you take something similar, how does it make you feel? But once again, if that's something that's important and the mother knows, the stepmother knows, stepmother of Anna knows that, like, that's a big deal if he's not on that medication, then you as the adult you can't just fall asleep early. You have to figure that out. So that's concerning.
And could it have played a role in his actions or behavior? Now, the hearing also revealed how the tragedy surrounding Anna has disrupted the lives of the children living in that home. The attorney then asked Chantel about the immediate consequences for her young daughter, still living in the shadow of this tragedy.
After the cruise, did she have to be removed from school?
They placed her on homeschool. They just unenrolled her this past Monday.
I see. So she's saying the 14-year-old or the 9-year-old, one of them has to be, which is obviously, this is a lot.
And why is that?
That was their choice to unenroll her.
Say their choice. Who are you talking about?
The school's choice. It had nothing to do with her behavior or anything. It had to do with the media.
She's currently on a homeschool status indefinitely.
No, she's being enrolled into another school.
Did you discuss that with Mr. Hudson?
I let him know that he had asked me to let him know when she was enrolled, and I told him I would. But I had just found out this week that she was unenrolled from the school.
It's like, to me, this is just what my brain's thinking, all alleged. The stepmom seems very suspect, and the 16-year-old stepbrother seems very suspect. Obviously, he is a suspect. But my other question is, the 14-year-old was in the room. Did they see anything? Are there any cameras? Are there any, blood alcohol reports to see if there is any alcohol involved? There's a lot of questions, and I'm sure some of you that know the case can help me out with some answers. But the fact of the matter is, somebody murdered this 18-year-old girl. And I would assume the 16-year-old stepbrother had something to do with it, and the stepmom here, at the very least, was being negligent and is also just being a bit fishy.
As far as going to be allowed to come back to your home at any point?
At this time, no. Not with the FBI investigation.
Later, Chantel Kepner's attorney worked to solidify the narrative about the relationship between Anna and her stepbrothers, a relationship that has been described very differently
Anna, who we know passed away, she was 18, correct?
Correct.
And was an adult.
Correct.
And was she given the option of staying in another room?
All three of the kids were.
Okay. And would that room have been with Grandma and Grandpa?
Correct.
And they didn't want to do that?
No, they wanted to stay together.
Did they?
That's the problem, though, when you give minors the ability to make their own decisions, and it's like you say, "Oh, well, I don't want to stay with Grandma and Grandpa." Well, that's too bad. Anna's 18; she can do what she'd like, right? Fine, but you guys are 6, 14, and 16. You're staying with Grandma and Grandpa, right? That's how I would do it. Like, I don't care what you would want, you know. And I guess they were saying, well, Anna's an adult, but it's like, once again, 18 is as barely as an adult as you can get.
All get along?
Yeah, the three of them are like the three amigos. They're best friends.
Okay.
This is the picture the stepmom side is committed to, a close, chosen bond between the teenagers, which is a stark contrast to prior claims that Anna was actually afraid of her stepbrother.
Okay, this is crazy. This case is crazy.
And according to her ex-boyfriend who spoke to Inside Edition, the concern that her stepbrother was, quote, obsessed with Anna.
Oh, my goodness.
Did your ex-wife inform you that she was going on a cruise and taking the children?
She did.
And what was your position regarding that?
I wasn't okay with it. I let her know I wasn't okay with it.
This poor guy loses his daughter. He was the one that seemed like he didn't want it to happen, denied the passports. She went anyway without doing that. Lord have mercy. This is this is a crazy case, huh?
And why was it that you weren't okay with it?
Because at that time, I was getting nowhere with seeing my kids. I had barely any communication at all.
Now, there was one notable absence from today's hearing. Anna's own father, Chris.
Because, like, of course, Chantel, right, is that her name? She's, of course, going to say, oh, they're the three amigos. They were the best of friends. Because if she didn't say that, people would then grill her and say, then what the heck were they doing together? Why would the ex-boyfriend come forward and just lie, right? Would make no sense. It would make no sense. He had information and probably felt, dude, I need to say something here.
Christopher Kepner. He was subpoenaed to testify about the safety of the home and the decisions made on that cruise. But according to Fox News, he dodged service and he did not appear. Now, as for Anna's case, which is separate from the hearing that we just talked about, the FBI says its investigation continues. They really have not said anything beyond that since the investigation began when the ship returned back to the port in Miami on November 8th and her body was taken off of the ship.
So this is only about a month ago. So this is obviously very fresh.
To our knowledge, no arrests have been made. The FBI hasn't named any suspects, but the family of Anna Kepner and the attorney for Anna Kepner's stepmom's husband has said that 16-year-old stepbrother is a suspect. But
absolutely.
Again, we're waiting for confirmation from the FBI on that. We are going to continue to follow this case as we have.
Lord have mercy. Rest in peace, Anna Kepner. Whew, this is another one of those cases where it's just never cut and dry. There's something going on there, so I'm sure we're going to get a lot of updates. Wow, there's a lot of layers here. As always, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Any details that you know, please let me know, as you guys are always giving me more knowledge here on this channel. If you made it to the end of the video, of course, like the video, subscribe, hype the video. We almost got in the top 100 hyped videos for our last Gypsy Rose video. I think we were like pretty close. So you guys are really showing up. Thank you. And of course, down below, you'll see the merch shelf set up. I launched my first ever Triple R merch store not even a week ago. So make sure you check that out. Pick up something if you haven't yet. Check out some of the products we have on there. And, yeah, help support the channel and the brand, my little small business venture here. But that is it for me here on Triple R Ryan's Raw Reactions. Please don't bother me while I'm watching true crime. Peace out.